Hey guys, this is Miss Gidman, and today I'm going to walk you guys through using Google Drive. This is strictly so you guys can understand how the Google ecosystem works and how it coincides with using Google Classroom and why they're kind of necessary to feed off of each other, especially because we're going to be using Google Classroom so much for peer review and revision and collaboration, and also our conferences even. So that collaborative aspect of it is extremely important, and luckily it's pretty streamlined into the Google ecosystem already. But before we get into using Classroom, I want to show you guys how to effectively use Google Drive. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it's pretty easy to some of you. So if it is, you guys can go ahead and skip this. A lot of you have already used Google before. If it's new to you, I completely understand, and this is what this tutorial is all about. It's very different than something like Microsoft Word and Office. So what I want you guys to go ahead and do is open up either Chrome or Internet Explorer, though I recommend Chrome because it's a bit more streamlined with Google and it's honestly a little faster. And go to google.com. If you're in Chrome, it should already bring you to this page right here. And I'm actually really excited about this because we're also going to go over how you should name documents and ways to organize folders. So that way, you know, when you submit lit papers, you don't submit a paper that's just called lit paper and then your teachers get 170 things titled lit paper. It's always fun to go through. And also that way when you're applying for colleges and things like that, you'll have access to all of the work that you've done in the past. And I know that doesn't seem very important to you right now, but trust me, it will. I am still able to go through and pull documents that I wrote in my freshman year of college, regretfully some things that I wrote in high school even. And it's very useful to have those to build upon ideas. Why do the work if you're not going to use it later on? Especially because we don't do a lot of busy work, right? Or hopefully any. So once you are on Google's page, you need to sign in. So make sure that you're signed into your Google account up here. And then this little square menu right here, this is your Google app navigation. So anything that you would need access to within the ecosystem of Google is there for you. Google Calendar, your Gmail. I would like you to actually make it a habit to check your Gmail that is especially associated with your Google Classroom account, because anytime that we return something to you or whenever I give you feedback, it's going to send you a notification. So it will let you know when that is done. You also have your contacts, you have your Google Drive, your Hangouts, your searches, really anything that you could think of that you would want. So really helpful to have this menu here. You can also bookmark those things up here using this star if you want to into a navigation bar as well. But for now we're going to be using Drive. So go ahead and click on Drive. And this is what your Drive looks like. It might not be this organized, it actually probably is in this grid format right here. I'm pretty OCD, and I know that after seeing the majority of you just have like a ton of files below here that make it look like it's very overwhelming. But fret not, because those files can be filed into folders very easily. This is especially if you've been using Google a lot, but you don't quite know where your documents are saved. So this will help you organize things more. Long story short, maybe it's not a long story at all. I don't know, but it's actually not a long story. So a quick guide to navigating this, you have your quick access menu. These are documents, spreadsheets, slideshows, whatever that you access pretty consistently or that you've accessed recently. So those are going to pop up right in this menu here. The next area you have are all the folders that you make, and below that are normally a ton of files that you have not yet filed away. So today we're going to be worried about folders. On this side, you have this little arrow right here. Click on that and you can see all your folders in Drive. And then below that, there's also a starred section. This starred section, which I'll show you how to use in a little bit, is your favorites folder, essentially. It houses anything that you put a star on. So for me, as a teacher, I've bookmarked my 11th grade teaching folder for this year. So going back to my Drive, what we're going to do is create a sample folder. So let's say that you're in my American Literature and Composition course. You're going to go in and make an actual folder dedicated to this course, so that way you can house all of your documents there. So you can do that in one of two ways. You can either right click, hit new folder, or you can go up here and hit new folder here. And a safe rule of thumb whenever you're titling a folder for a class is that you should do the class name and also the year. That way you can kind of keep track of data that way. Once you get on down the road, become older, more wise, experienced, you know. So I'm going to call this American Lit/Comp 1718. So that means the year 2017, 2018. Oh, that's an equal sign. Hang on a second. There we go. And then you hit create. And then that is there for you. So it'll pop up right in your My Drive. And once you have that, we're actually going to make a folder within a folder. It's called a subfolder, for those of you who did not know that. So click on your American Lit folder. And now we're going to do the exact same thing that we just did. So either right-clicking or going to new folder. And the first unit in our American Lit class this year is Memoirs. So Unit 1, Memoir is what we'll call it. And this is going to house any of the documents that I create for Unit 1. That way, even though it might not be super organized, it's at least organized by units. If you want to go in and make subfolders within Unit 1 for writing and drafts and readings, whatever you want to do, that's totally fine. Your brain categorizes things very differently than other people, so it's important that you find a method that works for you. It's kind of like what we talked about when we discussed semantic chunking and vocabulary acquisition. Our brains like to categorize things, and we all do it in certain ways, but ultimately, doing it in the best way helps us memorize. So, now we're going to create our first Google document within this drive. So one issue that a lot of you have is you just go over here and you go into Google Docs, and you use Google Docs right here, and the problem is when you open a Google Doc within Docs itself is that it doesn't really save it in any specific folder unless you tell it to. But if you go ahead and create a Google Doc in Drive within that folder, it will save it there for you automatically. So we're already in our American Lit Comp folder in Unit 1, and so we're going to make a new Google Doc. So just go to New again, or right-click and go to Google Doc and just click on that. And let's say that I wanted this to be my first draft of my memoir. So I'm going to go in and put my last name at the top. I'm titling it right here. Just click there, Goodman, and then Memoir Draft 1. So a safe rule of thumb, especially when you get into college, is to name documents with your last name and with the assignment number. That way it's easy to find from your teachers, and it's also easy to find for you later on as well. So that's titled now. You can change the title or anything like that later on just by clicking there. And there you go. You have this document you can work in. And the cool thing is, if you go back out to your memoir folder, because everything is open in tabs, it's right there waiting for you, saved. Okay? So going back out into our drive, let's say that I have so many folders and they're all these ugly gray colors and I can't find anything. You can actually change the color of your folders by right-clicking them, going to change color, and then hitting the color that you want it to be. This is a good way to organize for your classes, for units, whatever you see fit, just to kind of help documents stick out. You can also star a folder by right-clicking it and hitting Add Star. And that will put it over in this folder right here. And it's that easy. And the cool thing about coloring the folders too is that it'll actually color it in this vertical menu right here. So again, easy to find, makes it pop more. And that's the gist of using Google Drive. One more thing is that if you have a rogue document, for example, that has been left somewhere and you want to move it into a different folder, all you have to do is right-click on that document, go to Move To, and you can move it, or you can even make a copy of it and make a copy of it in a new location. So that is like the nitty-gritty, the down and dirty of Google Drive. Obviously, there's a lot more that Drive can do. But ultimately, you getting organized and putting your documents in folders is what we're really trying to get you in the habit of doing.